Secrets, if you really look at yourself, you would be speechless. What happened to being doctors and teachers? What happened to being your brother's keeper?
Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy, Mr.BandClap, and we in the building with a very, very special video today, y'all. So, as y'all know, these past 2 days, I've been interviewing the lovely sister Star Tarot from Nigeria. And as you know, those videos that I did are no longer up simply because I kept going through a lot of technical issues with those. And what it came down to was lack of powerful internet. So I'm gonna have to end up upgrading my internet. And if you all want to see more of these type of interviews with these lovely soul family members, I would urge you to donate, because all of the donations that you all give me, I put those to making my channel better and giving you all quality content. Now, very, very soon, I'm going to be starting up a Patreon as well. And on my Patreon, not only am I going to start posting my live streams, taking my live streams down, putting all those on Patreon, also exclusive interviews and other content are going to be on my Patreon. So I really hope that you all support me on there. And also, before I get off of here, as you all know, I do readings, and I also have a class, and you can go to bandclaptv.com if you're interested in that. I got 2 types of readings right now. I got the Everything is Everything reading, which is my most popular, and I also have the natal chart reading as well. So if you all are interested in that and also into joining my class, you can go to bandclaptv.com to get more information on that. So without further ado, this is the re-upload of the talk that me and Sister Star Tarot had, and this is entitled The Awakening of the Sacred Feminine. So we got a lot to talk about, so let's get this show on the road. Yes, we finna go. I got a special treat for y'all. I am hopped up on freaking Rockstar energy drink at 11:30 at night, so I might as well just kiss sleeping goodbye today. So what's good, y'all? What is good? What is popping? To all of my soul fam in the building, we have a very, very special live stream today. We're going to be diving into the topic about the awakening of the sacred feminine. The awakening of the sacred feminine. Me and my girl Star Tarot is going to be talking about this. But before I bring her on, I just want to let everyone know, if y'all want me to
keep doing shows in this type of regard, I would know how serious y'all are by what I get on my Cash App, because stuff like this is very, very hard to make. There's a lot of moving parts that comes with it. You know, every time I do something new, the reason why I keep doing it is because of y'all. So make sure y'all hit the Cash App for a brother. Also follow my girl at Tarot Legos on IG. Please show her some love. She is a very, very wonderful tarot reader, based out of Nigeria. And I told her that I was going to do the best that I can to help her out and, you know, show some love to her business and stuff like that. Also, make sure y'all get the likes up for a brother. Make sure y'all get those likes up. Get the likes up. Get the likes up. We got 7 likes and 12 people in the building. So let's get the likes up. So for these past couple days, for these past few days, I've been working with some very, very primordial energies. I've been working with Kali. Shout out to the goddess Kali. I've been working with Akasha, as y'all know. Y'all know I love Akasha. She is my cosmic bae. Akasha is my cosmic bae because she is the stewardess of primordial knowledge, and I am a knowledge seeker. So anytime I need to know something, anytime I need to I want to do some research on something and I can't find it online or something like that, I can just meditate and talk to Akasha. And so the reason why I came up with this is because this morning randomly on YouTube, when I went on my YouTube, the Akasha Gone Too Soon. Y'all remember that? The Akasha Part 3 video that I did. Oh, what's poppin', Sister Ra? I'm glad you're able to drop in. So, I watched that video again, and Akasha, I started getting a lot of channels from not only Akasha but also Oshun, which you're gonna see Oshun later. She's gonna have her little cameo appearance because I don't do a lot without Oshun. You know, she's always around somewhere or whatever. And it was something that Oshun and even Akasha was trying to let me know. Shout out to Sister Isabel, the Zero Manifested. She did a whole video about this. Melanie, the Spirit Doula, she did a video about this as well, talking about there's a mass awakening that is going on right now. There's a mass awakening going on when it comes to the oppressed people, the oppressed race of people. There's a mass awakening that's going on. Even when we talk about just in consciousness, you know, a lot of people who wasn't curious before about spirituality and stuff like that, they're starting to just randomly just have a a thirst for that type of knowledge. Even when we talk about women, and like I said before, with all of the readings that I've been doing so far, I can truly say like 98% of all of the readings that I've been doing were basically, are all women. 98%. So there's definitely a mass awakening that's going on. And when it comes to a lot of these primordial energies, and on my videos I always talk about Lilith. She's one of the main primordial energies that I talk about a lot, especially when it comes to a woman who's just now getting on her stages of enlightenment. I always talk about how the Lilith phase is the first phase that she ends up entering. And this is where she really, really starts to realize how powerful she really is. But the key is, a lot of, not only is there's always been a lot of anti-programs, there's always been a lot of systematic things in place for women to stay at that Lilith stage. And you see this a lot when you talk about the quote unquote the feminist strong black woman. I can do it all on my own. Women are better than men, all of this stuff. And then you have the people in the conscious community that talks about how the black woman is God and things like that. So a lot of women, they end up staying at this phase because, there's a lot of money to be made on the Lilith stage. There's a lot of attention that you get on the Lilith phase, But just like how the energy of Lilith can be a destructive force when it comes to humans in a way, because it's a primordial energy. So that energy, it needs to be alchemically transformed. And then that's when you get, when women really, really get into their goddesshood. So there's a mass awakening that's going on. And I was watching, who all in the chat knows about this artist named Mama Saturn? Because Oshun, she started showing me, the main thing she was showing me is that even when we talk about the energy of Oshun, she is the goddess of fertility. She's the goddess of beauty. She's a very sensual goddess. She's the goddess of sensuality and things like that. And with this society that we live in, there's always been a push to bottle up and to heavily compress the feminine energy, especially the goddess energy. So she started showing me different versions of her that has been heavily compressed. And these are the versions of Oshun. If she's able to alchemically and energetically grow and evolve in these forms, she can be a very adept healer. But a lot of women, either they're very they get shamed for wanting to express these forms of her. They get shamed. They get ostracized, they get put down, you know. So the 3 forms that she showed me right quick was, one, the version of her that represents Mama Saturn. And if anybody knows who Mama Saturn is on YouTube, she is a extremely sensual singer. She's a melanated woman. She's kind of tall. She got a beautiful body. And when she sings, she got this Alina Baraz, real sensual type of tone about her. And we know when it comes to that version of Oshun, that version is heavily compressed. Heavily compressed. Simply because when it comes to a lot of us men, unless we really came up in a unless we really came up in a situation where we know how to handle that type of feminine energy, that energy is heavily compressed and it's shamed, you know, when women are sensual like that. Exactly. She got that 70s vibe. Exactly. You know, with the big afro and stuff. And then there's this other video that I want y'all to check out. And it is called, because it's in my history, so I gotta find it right quick. It's another video, and it is called DVSN Mood. It's called DVSN Mood. So this is the version of Oshun that represents that that more sexy Pambagida version of Oshun. And a lot of men, you know, don't like this version of Oshun simply because when you have a lot of men that have that type of mindset where it's like, yo, I'm just gonna pump and dump, you know, and stuff like that. And then they end up meeting this version of Oshun. And this version of Oshun, she cool with it. You know, she's very fluid, and she's very, you know, she identifies with her sexuality in a way to where, you know, she can play that too. But the only thing about it is, once she put it on you, you end up being the one catching feelings. So needless to say, you know, a lot of men don't really like this version of Oshun. And then last but not least, she was showing me this Vlad TV interview with this lady named Chanel Hart. And the video is called Chanel Hart on how family reacted to her decision to pretty much join the industry of doing porn. So this version of Oshun, you know, she represents the girl who, you know, she came up in a wholesome family. You know, she came up in a wholesome family with a mom and a dad and all of those things that you would think that would, you know, make a woman be quote unquote wholesome. But she just has a natural, she got a natural thirst. You know, she just naturally likes to have sex, you know. And, you know, she ended up doing porn. You know, she wasn't molested, you know, she wasn't raped or, you know, nothing like that. She just naturally loves having sex. She's naturally free with herself. And a lot of men don't like to admit this, but she's one of the women that's going to end up being married one day. Simply because she doesn't have a traumatic situation that warrants her to want to do porn. You know, she don't have a traumatic type of situation that will make her want to do porn. You know, so she's one of the women that's going to end up, you know, doing that. And, you know, once she's finished, you know, doing that, once she's finished with that phase, she's going to end up getting married. But because of her past, she may have a small issue with that. So these are the three versions of Oshun that a lot of us don't like to talk about like that. But with this mass awakening going on, a lot of women are tuning back in, whether it's subconsciously or whether it's just, you know, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. They're tapping into their sacred femininity. And we know that sacred femininity, not only does it represent chaos in a way, because we know that femininity in its most primal form represents chaos and potentiality. And that's something that in this matrix, we're taught that we have to always have a logical answer for everything. So this is the reason why a lot of these archetypes, a lot of these goddess archetypes have been shamed. A lot of them have been, you know, heavily compressed. And a lot of those things are breaking now. You know, you're having a lot of women who were in miserable marriages and stuff like that. You have a lot of women who were in miserable marriages because they didn't know themselves when they got married. But now, since they've woke up and since they've came into their goddesshood, they found out that, you know, I'm a representation of the goddess Ishtar, which is the divine whore. So now she's miserable because she's in a situation with a man that's, you know, he's a good man. You know, he's a provider and all those type of things. But, you know, since now she knows who she is, that inside of her, that soul inside of her is very miserable because it's in a situation that is not supposed to be in. So, this is the subject that I want to touch on, and I want to talk about it from the American perspective, and I have somebody that's waiting in the wings, and she's going to talk about a lot of things when it comes to the Nigerian side of things. So let me see, is she ready? Because I'm about to go ahead and bring her on. I'm gonna ask you this, because I remember we talked about how you always was very, very conscious, even when you didn't really know what, even when you didn't know the certain terminologies, or you might didn't know how to read certain energies, but you were very empathic and you were very aware. So what would you say was your turning point when you came out of the spiritual closet and you was like, you know what, you know, there's something here inside of me and I want to learn more about it? And how did you go by, you know, opening up that, going down that road and going down that avenue in order to go on your stages of enlightenment?
Okay, my spiritual awakening, how it started was in 2016. I had the toughest year possible. Like everything that could go wrong went wrong that year. And I remember I was journaling. I started journaling, and in April, I remember I wrote, I feel like I don't have power. I feel like I've lost something. I felt powerless, I felt lost, and I was still very much like praying, going to this church. I was in university. I was in England at that time. I was in Bradford because I went to University of Bradford. Shout out to University of Bradford. I don't think anybody on this chat is going to know where that is, but still. And I was in the University of Bradford, and I remember I was doing my finals, tough year. I had issues with the school because of tuition. I was an international student in England, so we had to pay a lot more. My family, things were going wrong back home in Nigeria, and everything was just all over the place. And that's when I started seeing 11, but the way I saw 11 was quite different. I started seeing it at 74. So even on my, at 74. So even on my report card, because I remember I did my dissertation, I got a good grade, but then I always see like 74 coming down. And in England, that's the first class. That's actually quite high because university there is condensed. So first class starts from 70% or 68% in some courses. And then I was like, oh, so I'll be happy, like, oh, I'm getting a first. But it was 74. I was like, what is it with this 74 number? Like, what is it? And then I remember complaining, I'll check my phone battery, 74%, my laptop, 74%. I was like, I'm going crazy. And then I remember complaining, like, okay, what is the universe? What is God trying to tell me? That's what I thought to myself. And then I stopped saying 74 and I started seeing 47. And I was like, that is very funny. Like, even on my way to my mom's church, I would see sign of 74. And then I remember during those times I was at home because I had to, I was just back home. I had not received my transcript yet. I was done with uni, but I was back home. I wasn't working. I couldn't work. I had having loads and loads of issues. And I just started reading online, like listening to audiobooks. I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna, be at home for a year or so, I might as well improve myself. So I was working out, listening to audiobooks. I started listening to like Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, all those people. And then I started to get deeper and deeper. Then I got in 2017, I remember there was this church I followed online and they were like, 2017 is the year of alignment. And I was like, I'm gonna pray and I'll have this alignment. And I remember in January, I was in my bed. I was just on my bed and this was like 8 p.m. I wasn't asleep or anything. And my sister was next to me. And I had this really faint dream. By the way, guys, if you don't know, I sing as well. And I had this really weird dream. Or it wasn't really a dream, it was kind of like a vision. And I was in bed and a man wearing white, like Obatala, came to me. Yep. And it was in that dream and he felt like he was in my room. And then the room turned from my room to somewhere else. And he started playing old records. It looked like it was in the 80s in Nigeria. And it kind of felt like the 60s in America at the same time. It was just really weird. And it was playing old records. And then it was somewhere we were outside. And I saw this lady and she was so majestic. And she started scatting. And then I was like, I know you. And she just laughed. I remember waking up and thinking, that is a girl, but it looked like a much younger version of her that you didn't see all the time. She's my ancestor, by the way, because I was like, oh, she came to me. And then I remember going to the studio after I had the dream, and the same stereo, like the old school, like record player that was in my dream was in that particular that man's house. And I was like, wait, everything is just weird. I knew that year was weird and it was just different. And then I started listening to Deepak Chopra online. I don't know how I found The Alchemist. People were recommending different books online on the Breakfast Club, because I would just watch the Breakfast Club interviews. That's Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee, DJ Envy. And I went on from just listening to all these things. And then I had these profound dreams, right? And I'm not gonna say every single thing, because in future, when everything manifests, then I'll be able to tell people. But then I had this person come to me and he was like, that's when I was going through depression because of what was going on in my life. And he came to me and he was like, I need you to stop feeling sorry for yourself and wake up. And I said, wait, you don't even know me. You don't know what I'm going through. How dare you? And he gave me some lemons and he was like, I want you to make lemonade for me. And I thought, can't you ask someone who knows you? Yeah. And I was like, and he's a man. I can tell you about, and he came to me and said, I need you to wake up. And in that dream, I looked like I was wearing rags. It just represented my consciousness and my state of mind. And then after that, I thought to myself, okay, now this is horrible. Then he came again 2 times after that. Then I started to read and do my research about dreams. And then even before then, I had sleep paralysis, all in the same month or the same year. And all these things were going on. I was doing more research, like, why are all these weird things happening? And then I started to research into like soulmates, twin flames, different things. And before I knew it, I was just going deeper and deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. And I've always had this passion to find the truth. So I always used to go like watch these videos on secrets behind the Bible. I was into conspiracy theory, and I was going through like my Hotep phase at that time. But I had a Pan-African blog too then. So I was always that person. And then I watched Hidden Colors, yeah.
Shout out to Tariq Nasheed.
Yeah. I watched Hidden Colors, and I was learning all these things. Like, okay, I already knew that they used the Bible to brainwash us. I've known that for a long time. But my friend was thinking, oh, you probably become an apologist, like a Christian apologist, because of everything that went on. But then I was just reading and started watching people like Young Pharaoh, Zaza Ali, and before I knew it, I just changed. And I watched Khalid Muhammad. Yeah, right. The Nation of Islam, and then I thought, wow.
Please tell me you didn't turn into one of those RGB. We gotta stand up for the black race. Because I feel like we all have that phase when we're coming into consciousness. We all come into that phase where we just want to shout on the mountaintop, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm actually quite happy I went through that phase, because at some point when I was just waking up, I almost got sucked in by the whole life path and airy fairy and 5D and we are all ascending. And I quickly became quite disgruntled, dissatisfied with that phase, because of like, we're ascending and every day was ascension symptoms. And I thought, okay, there has to be something more than this whole airy fairy phase. So I started to do more research, Delbert Blair, read secrets behind the Bible, read about the Aramaic Bible, and different things that were just going on. And before I knew it, some people were always saying, watch Bobby Hemmett, and I couldn't watch him. Like, I'll click on this video and I didn't understand what he was saying. And it wasn't an accent thing, because obviously I was watching other American videos. But I just was like, I can't understand him. Then I started to watch Phil Valentine, and I was watching hours and hours of lectures.
So I was talking about, when it comes to us as men, we've been raised up with a very, very skewed we've been raised up in a very, very skewed way when we talk about manhood. And I talked about, and I said in the chat, I said, how many guys you growing up, someone told you that you're not considered a man unless you had sex with a certain number of women. That determines your manhood. And then D Fleming says, you're right, bro. Now let me give y'all another one. How many guys can say that they've heard that, oh, you're not a real man unless you've been to jail and you came out harder on the other side? How many guys heard that? Cause I heard that too. Like, you ain't no real nigga unless you done some time in jail. D Fleming said, I've always been too picky for that. Yeah, exactly. But if you came up as a guy and you wasn't out there hoeing like that, you're looked at in a certain way. You're looked at as you're weird, you know, you're looked at as you're lame, you know, you're a weirdo because, you know, you ain't out here with getting a whole bunch of women and stuff like that. So also, how many guys out there can say that somebody told them you're not a real man unless you got kids, unless you're a father? Now this is a big one. And that's the thing, you know, when we talk about self-worth, because you're definitely right. When you talk about self-worth, when it comes to men, it's always been based on something external. Yeah, she's clear now. It says you're clear now.
Oh, that's good.
So when we talk about self-worth, even when it comes to men, so now let's go to religion. So to all my men that came up either Christian, you know, Muslim, even Hebrew Israelite, a lot of those religions, but in really I'm really talking about like Christianity, all of the Judeo-Christian religions, because we know that these religions are very, very bastardized religions. You know, there's really no room for the feminine when we're talking about these particular religions. So with that being said, a lot of men that come up in these bastardized religions, you know, their alpha energy is very, very compressed. So, you know, a lot of these men, they can't handle a woman that is in her true goddesshood, because they were raised up to believe that, just like how you know, in white supremacy, they say that a black man doesn't have a opinion, or doesn't have a right that a man that a white man is to accept, is to respect. When we talk about how we've been raised as black men and black women, a lot of us have been raised to where we look at our women in the same type of way. You know, we think that every woman is supposed to submit to you, and you know, every woman is just supposed to just bow down to you just because of who you are. You know, you don't have, you don't know yourself. You're not in your godhood. You know, you don't have the alpha energy that's just gonna make her automatically, you know, fall in line to what you got going on. So you just got this, you know, this hyper masculine, because this is the thing too. Like I said, we have to stop saying toxic masculinity as men. Men, we were raised in this matrix to be two things. Either you're hyper masculine, you know, that's the Chad, Brad, Tyrone stereotype, you know, the incubus stereotype, or you're raised to be very, very effeminate. So those are the two things to where if you're a man and you fall into those two categories, you know, this system can reward you. It might not be a award that's in your benefit. You know, you're gonna end up getting a lot of lost women and stuff like that. But in this matrix, not only did they remove divine femininity and sacred femininity altogether, they also, because we know that the black man, when he's in his most alpha divine masculine type of state, you know, the black man, he said, we are back. Hey, what's poppin', Isabel? So we know that the black man, we possess that power. We possess that power in us to be able to guide and to be able to you know, direct that divine feminine energy in the black woman. But since a lot of us haven't been raised up in a holistic type of way, you know, a lot of us, especially like how we was raised up, we don't know how to deal with a goddess. We don't know how to deal with a woman that's tapped into her divine femininity. So you hear a lot of guys, you know, talk about if a woman is into magic, you know, if she's into African spirituality, if she's into ancient spirituality.
That's not only in America, by the way.
Oh really?
Of course, like I told you here, you being spiritual and you being into spirituality is looked at as devilish, because it's kind of looked at as, oh, juju. Okay, where I'm from, the state my father's from, is popularly known for magic. I'm sure if you know history, you've probably heard of the Benin Kingdom and everything. So like in Edo State, that's where the Benin Kingdom was, or still is, but it's not obviously as big and as opulent as it was before, because the colonizers destroyed it. But basically, you are seen as, oh, you practice this, you must be a witch, you must be evil, and if anything goes wrong, they blame it on you because, oh, you know she's the witch, she probably cursed you, she probably did something to you. So it's not really something that even people who have this understanding and this wealth of knowledge end up hiding it, because other people don't understand, and you will just be judged and you'll be made fun of, and that's it. That's all that's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the main things is that they only like to show you a certain type of woman. Now we know that, you know, that either there's certain type of anti-programs, there's certain types of, especially when it comes to melanated women, that you see on a daily basis, on a regular basis, whether it's YouTube, whether it's on Love and Hip Hop, whether it's on, you know, TV, or all of that. And I talked about this in my video about Beyonce versus Lizzo, or Beyonce and Lizzo. And I was talking about the many faces of Oshun, where you have the woman that represents the mammy, that's super loud, you know, Oprah Winfrey off of Color Purple, you told people to beat me, you know, that type of woman. And then you got the harlot. That's the other woman, the woman that's super free, sexually promiscuous, you know, she don't like being with just one man, you know, all of that. You got that woman. And then you got the woman that, you know, she kind of got this man complex. You know, when she talk, you know, especially when she's mad, she sounds like a whole dude. You know, she's like, yeah, you know, man. And the thing about it is, she could be real beautiful, but as soon as she started talking, like her whole, like you think like, you know, no shade to the LGBT community. Let me put that out there. But a lot of us, we be like, you know, were you born a man or whatever, you know, because of that energy, you know. And Minister Jap, he talks about that type of energy. So if you're a type of person who like a lot of us who came up, you know, Black in the Hood, a lot of us, we came up watching Jerry Springer, you know, a lot of us, we came up watching.
Oh God, I hate that show so much. I hate that show. They even have a British version called Mario, or what's it called? Oh, who's the dad? Like, who? Stop. No. I think it was just so opportunistic. It just made people come there, act a fool. People were laughing at home. They made money off them, and that was it. Like, it made no sense.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say that what we, the rest of the world, thinks about Americans is that you guys love to stereotype things or to put things in a box a bit too much. And we all put things in a box. That's like human nature right now. But America is so like, oh, you're this kind of girl, you're that kind of girl. Like, there's a name for everything. Like, you're naming everything. And it just makes it seem so I'm just me. Why do I fit into this box? And now that you've put me in this box, I have to do every single thing that other people in the box do. And it becomes like this ideology and this mentality. That's why you'll always find groups of people against each other. Whereas if you're really being honest with yourself, there's some things that you agree with other people on and some things you don't agree with other people on. But because you feel the need to be a group and to vote this party and to vote that party, it's just really hard to exist. I mean, in Nigeria, one thing I really like about Nigeria compared to the Western world is the fact that you can pretty much be who you want to be. Now, there are a lot of regulations and things because it's obviously a stricter society, not like the government is strict on you, but like in the court of public opinion, there are some things that you really might not want to say or do because people will judge you a certain way. But all these boxes that people are trying to put, people are trying to like adopt the Western mentality, but at the same time, there's no pressure to be, oh, this box, so let me vote this party, or let me do this, or let me do that. That pressure isn't there like you have in America. The pressure here is more or less wanting to fit into certain societal norms, like at a certain age as a woman, you ought to be married and you ought to have kids. That's where the pressure comes in, or the pressure comes in from family, because a lot of people are still tied to their families. And when I mean tied to their families, it's like you're just constantly in debt to their families. So your parents want you to do, so this want you to do. That's where the pressure comes in here. It's different compared to America, whereby everybody wants to be an individual, but an individual within a group.
Yeah, and this is the thing, because
It really doesn't make any sense to me.
And I wanna touch on when you said that when it comes to in America, a lot of when it comes to those stereotypes, because I wanna kind of break that down a little bit. Even when we talk about Oshun, and she wanted me to look at these 3 different videos, and she was saying that these are the 3 versions of Oshun that has been heavily compressed in these times of the Matrix, and a lot of this stuff is starting to be released. And the first version of her, how many of y'all out there know somebody named Mama Saturn? So when you check out Tamarell, and you just get a feel of her energy, you just get a feel of, you know, who she is, and you listen to her music, you can tell that she is extremely sensual. Like she's like Elena Baraz. She's like a very sensual, and she's very free with that type of nature. So that's one of the versions, because we know that Oshun is also a goddess of sensuality, you know. And when we talk about and Bobby Hemmett talked about this too. He was like, when it comes to on the movie screen and on the television, one thing that they don't want to show is a sensual black man and black woman in a passionate embrace. That's the one thing that they do not want you to see. They want you to see the black woman as somebody animalistic, you know, somebody that's, you know, just out of control, crazy. Gabby the Goddess, Tamarell. Okay, that's her name.
Tamarell, I told you.
Yeah. So they don't. So this Matrix really tries to take away the sensuality of the black woman. They really try to compress that, and they even when you go to other cultures like in Indian culture and stuff like that, they still have those type of schools that women go to that teach them about sacred femininity. So all of those different dances where you just swaying and you're moving your hips and all of that stuff, those are very sensual things that those women overseas are taught to only do that to their man. You know, it's not as hyper sexualized as things are in America. And just speaking on that a little bit, in Nigeria, do you all have something like that in Nigeria, to where y'all
schools where people go and learn stuff? I wouldn't say we have that anymore, because right now most people in Nigeria are religious. That's just the truth. So they're either Christian or Muslim. You have like a very small percentage, like tiny percentage of Igbo Israelites, but it's mostly Christians and Muslims. So the whole sacred school, sacred art, teaching people how to, it's not really a thing anymore down here. Now that doesn't mean some people don't know the ancient ways now. So there are other people who are like traditional practitioners and know things about sacred sexuality. They are outliers like myself. We're not really people that, you know, are popular. There are not so many people like us down here. If you get what I mean. So now people, they don't really have that, no. But because India was luckier than other black nations or than black nations to keep certain traditions alive. If you get what I mean, their spirituality was pretty much kept alive. Our spirituality was killed in Africa. A lot of people, like, and it's constantly that there is a constant war on our spirituality over here because being Christian and Muslim is the way forward right now.
And it's crazy.
What people do the way forward.
And it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy because the African spirituality that I love so much, it comes from Nigeria. And that's the crazy part.
It does.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah, it does.
And it's like when I look at the Oshun ceremonies, when I look at the ceremonies and I look at the different dances and stuff like that. And then when I meditate and I go into the realm where Oshun is, she don't dance like she don't really dance like what I see in the ceremonies. Like she got this real sensual where she it's kind of like belly dancing, where she kind of like moving her hips in a certain type of way.
So when you look at it, right, I tell people this, even before slavery or colonialism, we started to fall in consciousness. So a lot, and Panic talks about that a lot. So that, because it was like, if they were able to take you, you weren't on the same high frequency that the Egyptians were on when they were writing or creating those hieroglyphics. You were just were not there. Some people might have been, but the vast majority of people were not. So even our doctrines began to seem like religion. They began to be a bit, maybe they're not necessarily religious because people were never naive to think that gods did not have their negative or positive attributes. They saw gods as an aspect of themselves. Exactly. So it was never really like, Oshun is just so nice, and if you're this, you're wicked. Even though some people see it like that, because even in Christianity, Yoruba Christians call the devil Ishu. Yeah, so,
and I've heard that.
Like, if you say, I'm a child of Ishu, they don't see it as a trickster. They see it as, you're talking about like you're a child of the devil.
Yeah.
Like the way and a black person in America or Christian would be like, you calling yourself a child of the devil? Like that's exactly how it is. So you have to be very careful, be like, issue energy. Like what? You know, you can talk about Oshun and Yemoya, but even that is seen as fetish. You know, so a lot of people, don't get me wrong, they are curious people like myself as well. I'm kind of a unicorn down here, but not really, because most people are waking up right now. But the truth of the matter is, it's still very weird to talk about these things in public here. Very, very. It's almost a frowned upon.
Now, then, so she showed me that when it comes to how the sensuality and Gabby the Goddess was right. You know, that's where the TikTok and the wine and, you know, in the Caribbean.
All that TikTok wine.
You know, that's where all that stuff comes from.
Belly dancing, even the twerking, it's all a part of it. But okay, now the whole dance aspect of it, we still have those, right? But the dancing is more festive. It's more for like events as opposed to you're dancing to connect with your spirituality. Yes. Now you have some churches that still have kind of like they practice like Santa Maria so it kind of mixed the church doctrines with some traditional doctrines like burning of certain candles, different things like that. We have churches like that here, but dancing is very much a part of our culture. Like dancing in churches and at parties and weddings. We love to dance, we love to move, we love to be in rhythm with the universe, but it is a form of entertainment. Some people don't really think that they can. Some churches do that whole like Holy Spirit dance and you get in a trance and all that stuff. but the vast majority of people don't really link body movements and sensuality to spirituality. They don't really link it. They just see it as a form of entertainment.
And it was funny because I remember having this argument actually with a Caucasian woman, because she was talking about, you know, why is it that every time I'm in the club and I do the TikTok and I do the wine, you know, I just attract a whole lot of dudes want to come to me and start, you know, trying to dance on me. And I had to break it down to her that,
because it's very productive.
yeah, and a lot of those dances were created specifically for like a mating call. So you would have, you know, women who were fertile, you know, they were looking for a man, and they would learn how to do certain dances, and they would learn how to do certain moves, not only to attract a man, they would learn how to do these different techniques to keep their man. And the thing about it was,
that's actually true, because even, I was reading this novel the other day, and it was written by a Nigerian author. She's passed away now, so it was written a long time ago, and about a couple of girls in an Igbo village, and how annually they all had dances. So an age group, right? They call them Egbe in Yoruba. Egbe is like your group, your soul group, your age group. So they will all come together, like girls that are even when they dance, and then they just kind of show that, you know, they are young maidens, they are ready. It's kind of like a bar mitzvah, or I don't know what the female version of a bar mitzvah is called again. I can't remember what it's called, but it's not a ceremony as such. It's more like a dance, a performance to show, you know, the fact that you're young maidens now. They did that as well, but that is more. It's very, very traditional. You hardly hear people talking about these things again. I mean, maybe my grandmother, or most likely my great-grandparents, who were very active in that. Not even my grandparents anymore. Maybe my grandparents to some extent. Yeah, because
it goes back to the fact that everything, when it comes to the sacred things that we used to do, has all been hyper sexualized. You know, America is very hyper sexualized. So all of those special things, you know, that we used to do, you know, when guys be telling their girl, you know, I like that, you know, you do that thing I like when you do that thing I like. Now it's no longer as sacred as it used to be, simply because you can go to the club and see, you know, women doing that same thing. See, back in the day, you know, there was so much mystery when it came to a woman. It was so much mystery to the point where it's like, when you finally get her alone and she's your girlfriend, and she started breaking out with these moves in the bedroom, you're like, whoa. I never would have suspected that you knew how to do that. And it made the relationship so close, because you're like, now I know a side of her that nobody else knows. And that was the beauty of it. But you know, that's something that's been it's been taken away, especially when it comes to our culture. Now, the second version of Oshun that I wanted to talk about is, there's this video by DVSN, and it's called Mood. And when we talk about this version of Oshun, you know, she represents more of the Pambagira. You know, she's like the Pambagira. You know, she's the girl that likes to, that really likes to. The lady of the night. Yeah, but the thing about it is, her stigma is that even though she got a banging body, you know, even though she likes to go out and dance and stuff like that, number one, she has this stigma that she's a hoe. And in a lot of cases, these type of women right here, they're not hoes. They just like to dance, and they got a nice body. So they just like to go out and dance and just have fun. And then the thing about it is, you know, you have a lot of these dudes that be like, yeah, you know, I'm a pump and dump and all of this type of stuff. And then when she finally gives one of these dudes a chance, and she's cool with the fact that, you know, this is just a one-time thing, a lot of these guys, you know, they end up being the one catching feelings and stuff like that. You know, so you have another version of women that's like, okay, you know, I like to dance, I like to, you know, have fun, but now I'm afraid of being shamed for going out and just expressing myself. I feel like I'm gonna be shamed as, oh, I'm a thought, or oh, I'm a hoe, or, you know, something like that. You know, there's always this big stigma. What's popping? Kadeem Leslie, she says, I know in Jamaica our whining and dancing stem from the 9-night funeral rites called Dinky Minnie.
Oh, nice.
I gotta look into that.
That sounds crazy. Like, who knew? Came from funeral rites? Wow. Damn.
You know.
But as you're saying, for the Pambakira energy and her being like the lady who's free, who loves to have fun, but is deemed as a slut, I think that energy is more suppressed now, because a lot of people have given into the name calling to the point that sometimes it's hard for you to express your desires or to really, really walk in your truth when it comes to your sexuality, just because you don't want to be seen as slut, or you don't want to be seen as a thought, or whatever it is. So a lot of Pambagiras have been suppressed. However, I do think it's quite dangerous to suppress like your sexual or your primal nature. This comes out in other ways. So you find it that a lot of people are quite pretentious when it comes to sexuality, especially here and in a lot of religious settings. So they don't really want to admit what they're doing. Like, I've been in a church where you have the pastor who was married, sleeping with one of the married choir members, who was also sleeping with an usher, who was engaged to someone else, and then it became this big fiasco. Like, these things happen all the time, but no one wants to admit it because everyone is just trying to be pretentious and trying to be like, oh, I'm holy, holier than thou. You have so much promiscuity, so much infidelity going on in the church within like pastors and I don't mean to pick on the church, but it's like I grew up in the church as well, so what else are we going to talk about? Do you understand what I mean? So these things, Pombagira is often so suppressed. I will see Pombagira in a lot of strippers and a lot of women of the night, and there is nothing wrong expressing that aspect of yourself. I think Pombagira is the protector of the women of the night. Like, she protects them and she fights with them. People forget that prostitution was actually the first profession and highly respected. There were always sacred women in temples. There were always sacred sex rites and sex rituals and stuff that people were doing. So when people look at it that way and try to suppress the feminine sexuality and try to call it a Polish frequency, that's where you have the problem. You know what I mean? More people are rising out of that though. So more people living here are owning the fact that, listen, I'm this, but owning, still being a stripper or being a woman that has a lot of partners is still being looked at as a bit Polish.
And it goes back to when I was talking about the many faces of Oya, and I was talking about the sexually repressed church lady. You have a lot of sexually repressed people out here. Simply
You know what it is? I was even sorry to cut you short. I was listening to Phil Valentine one day, and he was like, you have a lot of perversion in the Catholic Church, or maybe people abusing people, because this whole vow of celibacy, you suppressing your sexuality like that, it is completely unrealistic. It's not good for you. And I agree to that. We never really, if you look back on ancient practices, the only people who were seen as so-called celibate, whatever it is, were priests. But even then, a lot of priests had their women too. A lot of male priests. And a lot of women lived in communes, and then they all had their partners. So the idea of being suppressing your sexuality or demonizing your sexuality wasn't really a part of our lifestyle. It was more or less use your sexuality for something. as opposed to suppress it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And the thing about, but you know, it goes back to, there's when it comes to the feminine energy, like you said, is heavily repressed in these bastardized religions that don't even put the mother in her spot. You know, you got the father, and then you got the son, and then you got the Holy Spirit, and they don't want to say the Holy Spirit is a man or a woman. So it's like,
what spirit is a ghost? It's a ghost or something.
So it's like where does the feminine and all of that fit when it comes to that? You know, it's heavily suppressed. And this, you know, not only does this lead to a lot of sexual repression. So you got a lot of mad black women out here, and the reason why, you know, they're mad black women is simply because, you know, the sexual repression, because maybe she's a part of a religion, or she's a part of a spiritual system that makes her believe that, you know, her expressing her sexual nature is bad. And this is another thing too. A woman expressing her sexual nature isn't about her having sex with a whole bunch of men. One thing that I noticed when it came to women who dance, women who get massages regularly, women who know about vaginal steaming and different things like that. It's funny how these type of women tend to be some of the nicest women, you know, that you even want to meet. You know, they just got this real pleasant.
There's some of them most loyal friends as well.
So there's also another version of Oshun. There's this video. Her name is Chanel Hart. So there's this video. Yeah, there's this video, and it's called it's a Vlad TV interview, and it's called Chanel Hart on you know, why she decided to get into porn. Now, this is the thing.
Oh yeah.
Now, this is the thing about Chanel, because Chanel, she came up in a very, very wholesome family. You know, she wasn't molested as a child. She wasn't raped as a child. She wasn't abused as a child. She came up with a mom and a dad, you know, very wholesome family, but she just likes to have sex. Like, you know, it's not something that she was forced to do or anything like that. You know, she just likes to have sex. So it got to the point where she ended up leaving her hometown, going to LA, and, you know, and being a porn star. And I remember Vlad was asking her questions about, so what did your mom think about this? And she was like, you know, for the most part, you know, my mom, she was kind of with it. She was like, you know, now do you understand?
Wow.
Do you understand that this
may she black?
Yeah. And when you see her, she's really, she got this beautiful brown skin. She talks very eloquently. You know, she gives you the Oshun vibe. But the thing about it is, this is another version of Oshun that we don't like to talk about. You know, she represents the woman who just likes to have sex. You know, she's not traumatized. Nothing's wrong with her. You know, so what I was saying was, she's gonna be one of those women that she's gonna end up getting married one day, simply because she don't have a traumatic situation that made her want to do porn. You know, she just likes to have sex. She just wants to do it. And this is another version of Oshun that has really, really, really been suppressed. You know, and we like to call it the divine whore. You know, and with the rise of OnlyFans and all of these mediums now, to where women can be who they are, you're having a lot of these women that's like, okay, you know, I don't have to, you know, do all of these other things that I really don't want to do. I can just finally do what I want to do and make money off of it. And you're having a lot of dudes that's like, damn, that's messed up. But at the end of the day, with this matrix that's crumbling, this is another one of those conversations that we've been neglecting to talk about. And I've had this conversation with a lot of my guy friends talking about, if your woman was like, yo, I want to make an OnlyFans, would you still want to be with her? If she say she want to make an OnlyFans, So when we talk about the divine whore in that type of aspect, like I said, that's another version of Oshun that's shunned, that's shamed. So you have a lot of these type of women in very, very miserable marriages, because when you talk about heavily repressed sexual energy, not only in a woman, that energy hardens up and it appears as masculinity, but it's toxic. So that's why it's called toxic masculinity, because it appears as masculinity because it's pent up. It's pent up, but it's toxic. So you got a lot of these type of women that are in these, relationships and stuff like that. Yeah, he said I can't watch OnlyFans anymore. Yeah, so you have a lot of this that's going on. So so now these women are like, man, fuck this. I ain't doing this no more. You had this one lady on Instagram. She was like, I'm glad the court took away my 7 kids. So now I can finally have a hot girl summer.
Wait, what? 7 kids?
Yeah, she was like, yeah, I'm glad the court
She has 7 children. I'm just trying to have a hot girl summer. She's gonna have 8. I had this story. This lady, she's a white lady, this has nothing to do with stream. This was in England, and she had 6 children. And she was like, she still felt like there was a void in her that she couldn't fill. I was like, girl, you had 6 kids, and you could still feel a void. And then she had 8 kids at once. That's octuplets. So she later had 14. That void was very full, trust me.
Wow. Yeah, so
with 14 children. Nah.
Yeah, so now, and this is the thing, because when we talk about the different avenues that this matrix puts for our black women, especially our black women, to be in. And remember, we talked about this yesterday, where you have the mammy. That's one of the avenues. The big fat black woman with the sassy mouth, like Oprah Winfrey on Color Purple. You told Harpo to beat me. All of this type of stuff. Now we don't realize that. What these, because one these stereotypes aren't, we didn't create the stereotypes. These stereotypes are offshoots of goddesses that used to be divine in our ancient spirituality. So when we talk about the Aunt Jemima looking woman, the big Aunt Jemima looking woman that is looked at as something bad, because now when you see her, she's breastfeeding the master's children. She's breastfeeding white children. So when we look at that type
when I see that picture of a black woman breastfeeding white children, I always get this image in my mind, because the black woman is the only living being that has the phenotype of every race. Every race can be traced back to her DNA, right? So when I see that picture, that is actually a picture of the Great Mother.
Yep, Medea.
When you look at that symbol, that's the Great Mother. However, it has been, I'll call it bastardized to the point that, and has been synonymized with slavery, that now most people don't want to be associated with that symbol. She's seen as unattractive. She's seen as like a work mule. She's seen as someone who's overworked, underpaid. Slaves were not paid.
And we
so
know,
you know what I mean?
And we know when it comes to slavery, you know, they like to paint the narrative that it's always the mammy that ends up snitching on the rebellion. A lot of they said a lot of rebellions.
She's like the female Uncle Tom.
Yeah, but when we look back into our ancient spirituality, when we look back into our ancient cosmology, we have goddesses like Ra said, like Nana Baruku, you know. And
that is true. That's what I mean by the divine mother, like Nana Baruku. Yeah. Even Nana Baruku is the grandmother, yes. Right? Yemaya is the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
even like the triple black goddess, is it like different ones are
even when we talk about Yemoya, she's portrayed as a heavy set woman with huge titties, because she's the mother of civilization. Even when you talk about, because a lot of people don't realize where that whole mammy came from. That mammy came from a deity called La Madama. That's where Medir comes from. It comes from a goddess named La Madama. And when you look up La Madama, she looks like the mammy with the scarf on her head, with the big dress on. But in our ancient spirituality, she was the nice mother. She was the one that'll take anybody in, you know, that needs shelter.
And
you know,
we have women like that. We have nice mothers like that. They don't necessarily have to be overweight or have a sassy mouth. But the idea of a mother that takes people in, black mothers do that all the time. We have grandmothers like that. My grandmother would be synonymous with that look. Like, she obviously did not look exactly like that, and with the whole sassy mouth thing, no, but she was a great mother. And she stood ground. And you have a lot of these symbols in life, in like society today. But the problem with that is nobody wants to be associated with the mom because she gets a very bad rep from my fellow black people, because she's a snitch and she's awful to be around, or she's just seen as unattractive.
And all of those,
and that's not the case, because these great mothers were attractive. You know what I mean? I see a lot of old paintings from like the 30s, or pictures from the 30s, or depictions of black people, and it was always with exaggerated features, exaggerated nose, exaggerated behind. Like you had the Sarah Baartman.
Yes.
Like I'm sure you've heard of Sarah Baartman. So like exaggerated behind, exaggerated features, and it's so condescending, because you pay to get your lips to be bigger. And now you're gonna clown me about it. And that's I know we were talking yesterday about how every single thing, even down to what we like to eat, has been used against us and made to look like, oh yeah, you this type of N-word and that. Do you get what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's so, I feel like it's the plot to take our power away, and we fall for it.
It is.
We fall for it
and the
all
thing,
the damn time. That's the annoying thing. Black people always fall for it.
But the thing about it is, why do we go for it? We go for it because our spirituality that made those deities divine that has been stripped away from us. It's been stripped away from us. The fact that we have to call it African spirituality, you know, it shows that, you know, with black people, our culture and a lot of the things that's divine was taken away from us for that. And then what they do is they upload the anti-program of the mammy. They upload that into our psyche. So it's like now when we, you know, get into our stages of enlightenment, and now it's time for us to tap in and it's time for us to you know, venerate those ancestors and connect with those ancestors. When you see that woman coming in front of you, you don't look at her as divine. You're like, oh man, you a mammy. You know, get out of here, you know. And they make sure.
And you're even being taught to disrespect your mother figures and your grandmothers as well, because they are being depicted as the mammy. So it's like you no longer find, that's why you see a lot of people in communities, like black men, and I don't want to just call men in America out, all over the world now, people are not seeing people of their race as attractive enough anymore. So you have a lot more people looking at, oh, I want a specific type of woman. I want a specific example, man.
I want
skin tone.
Now,
I want that skin tone. That's because the mother figure, or even the father figure in some cases, has been deemed as ugly. So you automatically look at yourself like, you're not attractive enough. So you tend to look outwardly for a partner that has more Eurocentric features. That's where the whole point is. So this whole like gender war between men and women, it's being programmed into our psyche from when we're children.
Mm-hmm.
So this divide, it just comes up like everything black is seen as unattractive.
And this is
Charlamagne God posted this picture. Sorry, just one more thing. He posted this picture of a black cat. Black cat was sassy looking like this. And it was like, and the cat was like, I'm not bad enough. A white cat made that up. And I laughed.
And this is the thing too. When we go on our stages of enlightenment and we start connecting back with our ancestors, when you have a certain type of depiction, because you have to remember when these ancestors connect with you, they connect to whatever the closest thing that you have in your mind that can remind you of that energy. So if they're trying to connect with you in that Lama Dama type of phase, if you look at that as something negative and you look at that as something bad, then when that ancestor uses that vessel to connect with you, it's going to be a nightmare. Like, because of the way.
Or it'll just be something. It's just something you dismiss. You'd be like, "Why did I have this dream about Aunt Jemima?" Like it's always random. Like we always have these random dreams. Like even some of us have celebrity dreams, and you're like, "Why would he just pop into my dream?" No, there's something he or she represents. I mean, it might be the celebrity's energy at the same time. Like I would like to believe Beyonce has come to me several times. Okay, but the truth is, like, it's just an archetype. Like, it's just a version of themselves. Like, we have to understand deities and ancestors, and once they get to their realm, they're no longer human. So they can only relate with you on a perspective or like from a point where you understand them.
And this is
Do you get what I mean?
And this is
That's why I like to decode my dreams, because I know that it's the subconscious mind using certain things to speak to me. It's really not a comb, like an actual comb. Like, what does a comb do? Like, let me break that down and then understand the dream. Okay, straightening things, or it's taking things out. Do you get what I mean? Like, you get a different perspective to things.
So, and this. I'm glad that you brought that up, because this is what I like to stress when I'm making these videos, and I talk about how a lot of these celebrities, they came here to purposely, redirect the energy so that way we can tap into that energy by using that celebrity as the archetype. For example,
like Michael Jackson.
For example, you got the Archangel Michael. Before we synonymize the Archangel Michael with Michael Jackson, who did you really have that was black that represented the Archangel Michael? It was always
nobody. It was even here. Like, people probably think, do they bow to white Jesus here too? Hell yeah. So then, like, Jesus, growing up to me, I grew up in Nigeria, even though I moved to England for about 8 years. Jesus to me was white. Like, that's what it was. The angels were white. I had dreams of angels in my dream. And in my dream, they came across as some were lighter than others. And as a kid, I thought the lighter ones were the real angels as a child, because that's what I was taught. Like, all my books said that, my Bibles, every single thing that we had. So yeah, you're right about celebrities coming in and wanting you to tap into their energy.
Even when we talk about, going back to when I talked about Akasha, when I say that, I'm connecting with Akasha, and Akasha represents Aaliyah. Now, we know that Akasha is not a person. We know that. For us that is into occultism, we know that Akasha isn't
it's not a person, yeah.
Akasha is a energy. But in order for us to be able to tap into the energy of Akasha, to be able to learn about your past and your past lives and stuff like that, we had a vessel to come to us in the form of
It's like a
Aaliyah.
symbol.
Yeah, a symbol to play, to be Akasha, to play that again. So now when you go to Google and you type in Akasha, Aaliyah comes up.
That face pops up. Yeah.
So if you're a person who wants to get a Akashic record reading and you want to tap into the energy of Akasha, you know, you can just listen to Aaliyah self-titled album. You know, you can listen to Aaliyah 1 in a Million and you can tap right on in. Because
I remember,
subconsciously,
I'm gonna share this dream with you now. I don't know, guys. Like for everybody in the group, in the chat, I really don't know what energy you can say Prince represents. Prince, the artist. But I remember when Prince died, and this was around my spiritual awakening. Actually, a year after Prince died, because he died in 2016. I remember the exact date, and I was so touched by it. But in my dream, so I was in a room I used to have when I was in this particular school in England, and that room was at the very top of the building. Like it was on the highest floor. It was right next to the fire escape that led straight down. It was in the penthouse or the attic or whatever you call it. That my room was there, and I remember walking into that room, and I saw Prince, and the room looked like the room I had, and Prince looked so damn good. Like he was decked in a white, bedazzled, you know. And then I remember being like, "Oh God, Prince, you're here. Everyone thinks you're dead." He was like, "Yeah, I know." It was like, "Yeah, I know. I'm fine. I'm here. I'm just chilling." And he looked so wonderful. And he was talking to me, trying to encourage me. And there was a mirror next to the bed, actually, even in real life. And I remember looking in that mirror, and I was a completely different person.
mm-hmm.
I was like, "That's not me." It was like, "That is you." And it was like, so I just look at all these, yeah, because in that dream, Prince to me looked like a demigod, like a god actually, because he was gliding. Instead of walking, he was gliding, like he was floating. That's how I knew I was in a completely different realm. Like I went to the astral realm to see him. You know what I mean? And these people represent these energies. I remember Charlemagne the God said, Prince told him, "Don't take a picture of me." And then the picture faded away. And I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, because he took a picture of Prince on his phone and then the picture blurred out. So like these celebrities have different, that's why when people bash celebrities, I'm just like, nah, you have to be careful. Some people are different now. Not everybody's rapping about the same thing. Like Prince was highly spiritual, like all his
Exactly.
everything.
Even when we talk about going back to Michael Jackson, because when we talk about Prince and Michael Jackson, remember, you know, Prince and Michael Jackson were two sides of the same coin.
Of the same energy,
Both
yeah.
of them,
that's why they seem to be at odds with each other a lot. At first, when Prince came out, yeah.
Yeah, both of them are Pisces moons. And we know that Pisces represents all of the signs in one. So that's how you got Michael Jackson. He was able to be black, white, you know, he was a man. Then he represented the bearded lady. You know, he represented all of these different versions of Pan. He represented all of these different messenger gods, from Archangel Michael to Baron Samedi to Eshu to Papa Legba. You know, all of these different things in one person. Just like when you talk about Prince, you know, he represented how, because he was a straight man. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, he was.
He was a straight.
I remember even in my dream, like he never came across as gay or anything. Like he wasn't fruity. Like some people say, well, when you're too feminine, he had a strong voice, and he was very, you look good. Like, what are you doing?
But the thing about
very straight up.
The thing about it was, like I said, you know, Prince, he represented being unapologetically you. So that means, you know, if you wanna walk out with some heels on and some bell bottoms, you know, you still better watch out, because I can still take your girl. You know, because I'm just confident in myself. But
they said that about him as well. They were like, he was still any woman. And if you look at Prince, and Kevin Hart was like, Prince is the most beautiful man I've ever seen. It's true.
And a lot of people said it about Thriller Mike. A lot of people said it about Bad Mike. Even Dangerous Mike. People were saying the same exact thing. And
the thing that people made it seem like he was so effeminate because his voice was so soft. It's like, BandClap, how are you? Like he was so soft and he was so soft spoken. But it's this. Archangel Michael is powerful and commands a lot of power. So I just feel like it's opposite ends of the same spectrum, because in this society we're taught to think, or in the world today, like if you're soft or if you're quiet, you are weak.
Exactly.
And honestly, the empty barrels make the loudest noise, baby, because you don't have to talk too much. The true alpha isn't telling everybody he's an alpha. He's an alpha. You recognize. We'll recognize it's real. That's it.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's going to segue into the next thing that I want to talk about. When it comes to men, because like I said, as men, we have this ironclad, you gotta be like this, if you want to be an alpha male, if you want to be alpha, but real people, they will say, look, Michael Jackson, he was alpha too. Prince, he was alpha too. Rick James, even though Rick James had the long hair and that the long hair with the tight leather pants and stuff like that, Rick James, he was alpha. But when we talk about in the large scheme of things, that version of being alpha has been wiped clean, has been wiped. So now if say that, you're a lot more spiritually inclined, so as a man, you might be a little bit more feminine. And when I say feminine, I don't mean you act like a girl. It don't mean that you want to be with a man. You're just into more spiritual, type.
You're in touch with that side of yourself.
So you'll be looked at now. They got a category, because you coming up as a child. Now you got a category that they're gonna put you in. They're gonna say, oh well, you might be, LGBT.
Even within the LGBT community, there are like 72 different genders, aren't they? So I don't know how people identify anymore. Like, left to me, that's the age we're in, right? It's the age of information, and a lot of people know different things. So there'll be new things popping up here and there, right? But my definition of an alpha, which is not a strict definition, by the way, is a man who was out to be secure in himself and to own his own space. So that's it. He commands respect by being who he is, as opposed to emphasizing. When I have a lot of men raising their voices to flex, to me it's weak. Why do you have to do that? That means you feel threatened, don't you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you went out.
That means you feel threatened. So if you always feel the need to, I am this, and to tell everybody who you are, then you really are not about that life.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is too, a lot of, and I can say this because I've been to a bunch of different panels, just hearing a lot of these guys just contradict themselves left and right. Now you have you're having women that's in a very, very quick, fast type of rate. A lot of women are tapping into who they really are. But when it comes to men, there's still this stigma when it comes to you liking certain things as a man. Like, I literally heard somebody on a panel say that you remember the guy that he was bird watching and stuff like that, and the Karen with the dog, was looking at him. So I literally heard this guy in the panel, and he literally said that dude, he must have been LGBT, he must have been gay simply because
he was bird watching. He was like, I don't know a man who's interested in bird watching. You know, I don't know a man who's
but I don't get it. Like, how does watching birds make you gay? Like, that's a bit weird. Like, what do birds have to do with sexuality?
Exactly.
That's another thing. I feel like America is quite sexualized in different things. Like, everything has to be sexual. Everything has to have a certain type of meaning to it, and it's the most annoying thing. It has absolutely nothing to do with your sexuality. Like, you're watching birds. You have every right to. It's not illegal. So why are you making a thing out of this? And that's the problem. You see, I don't think people in America understand this as much as possible. They have to create boxes to create barriers. So if you're interested in doing something, but because we are told that is seen as gay, and because you're a straight man and you don't want to look like that, you'll be forced out of that thing. And let me give an example. What they did with watermelons in America is unforgivable. How they stereotyped them and were like, oh yeah, black people liking watermelons and made it look like the ignorant Negro was this. That is the dumbest thing, because think about it. These people a lot of them were slaves working in very harsh conditions under the hot sun. By eating watermelons and cucumbers and different things, you're basically having water and food at the same time. And that's sustained you for long periods of time. That's quite healthy for you. Mm-hmm. But when they now demonize it, people are like, oh, why do we have to like this? And I'm just thinking, we don't have that here. So we're kind of lucky that we don't have those stereotypes. And the whole idea of white people liking this, black people liking chicken a lot more, it's so I remember one time, we were going on this school trip. This was in England, and mainly white people. And they were trying to pick a food. And then some people were like, I don't eat beef, I don't eat pork, I don't eat this, I don't eat that. And then it got to chicken. And then even the white guy was like, who doesn't like chicken? And it was like ridiculous to him. But then in that place, I was thinking, oh my God, is this like a black thing, or is this a stereotype? They don't even know that exists. And that's, America it boxes people in too much. Mm-hmm. And then now it feeds this stereotype to the rest of the world. Like, growing up, a lot of African Americans, the way African American men are depicted in movies and in the media, it's always seen as dangerous and violent. And that's what I saw growing up most of my life. Mm-hmm. Until I decided to read and think outside the box. Actually, until Obama, because when Obama became president, I was quite young. So until Obama, and then it became this like different perspective of a black person. And a lot of people who had not been to America had this idea of, okay, the black guy is the typical hip-hop artist or the NBA player or the thug or the criminal you see in movies. Never really portrayed as anything else beyond that. And that's the danger. And even when we go back to female sexuality, that's the danger of it. Because if you're seen as, oh, you like this, you're a slut. Yeah. Or you do this, oh, this is bad. You should be ashamed of yourself. And as women, we judge each other too. Like, it's not just men judging men. Like, I've had friends judge me, and I was like, but it's just a thought. I'm not even thinking of doing this, or I'm not hurting anybody. Why do you think? I was like, oh, no. You know what I mean? Because the standards are higher for women when it comes to sexuality, because it's like, you are meant to be desired, but you're not meant to be seen as, as sexual. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Or you're not meant to be seen as sexually active. So you can be sexy, but you can't be active. Do you get what I mean? Because then that is deemed as being promiscuous and different things. See, it just goes on and on and on. So, and this goes. I didn't say something. And what a Straight Panther said, yeah, condemned for my love of Yardbird, straight ridiculous. Exactly. I know Dr. B.O.A., the Alpha Dundada, and that's one of the things that he talk about all the time. That he likes to take pictures of birds and he likes to fish. Yeah, that's nature. That's like one thing with nature. Yeah. What's wrong with that? Exactly. When did nature become gay? When did nature become sexual? Like, I don't understand. So this is another thing that I wanted to talk about too. And it's called the Sisterhood. With all of this going on, the Sisterhood versus the Brotherhood.
Now,
Yeah.
I know you've heard a lot. I know you've heard about the sisterhood, and when it comes to women, especially melanated women in large numbers, when it comes to speaking out against something or something like that, for the most part, there's like this unwritten code with women, and it's called the sisterhood. So where it's like, even if you may not totally agree with what's being said, you're not going to speak out against your sister because that's going against the sisterhood. And I looked at this video on YouTube by one master teacher, and it was a panel, and it was called do Black women have bad attitudes? So
I saw that.
Yeah, so you had all of these, Black women, they was kind of on code, talking about, different things that a lot of women say about men and stuff like that. And so later on in the show, you had this other beautiful melanated woman named Jessica B. And Jessica B, when she came in, she was agreeing a lot more with the men. And it's real subtle how they do it. But if you really paid attention in that video, the lady was like, sis, what you doing is, you need to be on our team. Like, I don't know what you're doing, sis. And it was like the way she was saying it was like she was like, yo, you're breaking code. You're supposed to be like us. You're supposed to agree with us. You're breaking code.
Do you know what? Do you know one thing I think about this whole? I know my battery is quite low. I might be caught up soon, but one thing I do think about this gender war, especially in the Black community, I feel like it's completely unnecessary. Why? Because at a fundamental level, we have all been traumatized, and we've all been taken away from our true nature, right? So, as a people, and I'm not just saying it's because of Black people in America, all over the world, as a people, we all have certain traits that might be deemed as toxic, right? And we have to understand that this is not who we truly are. We are falling from grace. And what I mean by that is we have lost consciousness to a certain extent. Now we're trying to regain it, like the people who are waking up or going back. But the average Black person, like a lot of like Abrahamic religions are sexist. Oh, there are only 3 of them actually. They are sexist. The vast majority of them. There are some churches here, I don't know if they still do that, but back when I was a kid, some women couldn't preach because there's a Bible verse about women climbing the pulpit and being able to preach. So we've imbibed all these cultures and all these ways of living. Like there's this here in Nigeria, in Igbo land, they always say, oh, women can't own land. However, before colonialism, women were owning land. When the British took over in some way, they started to be like, as a woman, you have to register the land in your husband's name or your father's name. Now, this same culture is being seen and being like forced back into our faces and being told that, oh yeah, Igbo men are more sexist, or these people are more sexist. Whereas when we go down to the root of it, like before we adopted the Western way of living, we were much more free and we're more allowed to be who we were, but that's seen as backwards now, right? And one thing I always say about the white people is that they regressed us, and I don't mean to sound like, I don't know what you call, maybe like a Black, a hotel, or what do you call them? Like
I mean, if you speaking the truth, you're speaking the truth.
Yeah, it's the truth, because they regressed us to the point that now they're talking about, oh, feminism and be free, and then you have a lot of women here identifying what I like to call white feminism. I'm looking at them like, you were free before them. Don't make it seem as if like, oh, why can't we just be more like the Westerners? That's what got us into this shit in the first place.
Exactly.
That's what got us here in the first place. So they regressed us. They adopted a lot of our ways of living, and now they're giving it back to us. Like now people are like, oh, free and have multiple lovers. We'll be like, oh, white people. Whereas polyamory was seen in a lot of ancient indigenous ways of living. And I don't think that polygamy and polyamory is actually going to fit into the lifestyle that we are all living now, actually, because that's one thing we also have to remember. We always say, like in the olden days, we are not back in those times anymore. There are a lot of things that we can't do that are just not going to fly. Why? Because we have been programmed. As much as you don't want to admit it, as spiritual as you are, you're still programmed in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the gender war, it is so we are being unfair to each other by tearing each other down, as opposed to trying to understand why we've come this far, what has happened, and how to retrace our steps and how to correct certain things. Now, I do hear in America that a lot of black men complain about the way black men, and I'm saying this respectfully as an outsider, like looking into your culture, complain about the way black men act and this and that. But if you look at the way the society is shaped around black men, to take them basically from school to prison, from high school, as opposed to them being able to actualize their potential. How many black men actually are able to have that, opportunity to be the best that they can be? Most black people born in impoverished neighborhoods don't. Because the system starts working against you from the moment you even take your first breath. So when you are in these conditions, you have to understand that, okay, now, we're in a hostile space. How do we move on? What are we going to learn from this? That's just how I see it.
And so, wait, let me read some of these chats. Gabby the Goddess said, unsubscribe from a lot of black women who were just attacking black men. It's true. All of this battle of the sexes is just another agenda to further divide the black community and keep us from uniting, stepping into our power and producing.
It is though. It is, because it's like, why can a white woman be telling you stuff about your men, whereas she's calling the police on them as well?
Mm-hmm.
White women are the most pretentious of them. Like, I see this in England as well. Oh, men are more overtly racist. So they're more likely to tell you go back to Africa, which I've been told. They're more likely to tell you that shit, right? But the women are I'm talking about white women, and they're very condescending and very subtle in their racism. They'll be like, oh my God, your level of English is so good. I had no idea you could speak English so well. I was like, well, thanks to y'all who colonized us, yes, we do speak English, okay? And she was like, your vocabulary, you even know more things than us here. And I was looking at, do you think I'm dumber than you just because I'm black?
Exactly.
Like, it's the most...
you're beautiful for a black woman, or you're beautiful.
Oh, you're so knowledgeable. Like, you speak so well from someone. How should I speak, darling? How?
Mm-hmm.
Let me know.
And then going back to when we're talking about on a men standpoint. So talking about on a men standpoint, not only are us men, we're only looked at a certain way when we have a certain type of woman, but also even when we talk about the different levels of men, instead of it being a different variety of men, how you got the alpha male, the beta male, the sigma male, you got all these different types of men, Now it's not, instead of it being a variety system like that, to where not every man is gonna want to be quote unquote an alpha male. Just like how you have you got guys, they know all the red pill information. They know about red pill. They know about the things that they're supposed to be a man.
Men going their own way.
But that's not gonna stop them from tricking, on OnlyFans. Because that's just them. That's just what they want to do. That's not gonna stop them from paying for sex, low key with a prostitute or something like that, because that's just who they are. They're not gonna change that. But the thing about
that's the danger of all these boxes.
But the thing about it is, when a lot of these men go into a manosphere, red pill space, they would bash other men, you know, for doing the same thing that they do behind the scenes.
That's true.
And that's the hypocritical thing when it comes to us, because just like and when Akasha broke this down, it was beautiful. She was like, if you're not a pimp, a trick, or even a prophet, why do you care about women who act like hoes, thoughts, and prostitutes? Why do you even care? Why do
you know what it is? Even from a female or feminine standpoint.
And this is the thing. You know, it's like, why do you even care? So we have this community on YouTube where we want to bash all of these different types of women that we know we're not even compatible with. So instead of us, you know, learning ourselves, learning who we are, creating our own world, being the god of our own world, so we can attract the woman that's meant for us. For a lot of us, you know, that woman that might be cute, you know, she might be a little chubby, but she gonna treat us right. That might be who you are meant to be with. That might be who you're meant to be with. But
exactly.
You know, but since you're scared and you want to fit in, with everybody else, you will forego that girl that's trying to be a wife to you, and you're trying to chase these thoughts, and you already know that they're not compatible with you, but you just want to fit in, you know. So you end up getting into a situation where your heart gets broken. Now you got all these kids by all these different women, and now you're on these panels talking about fuck black women, these women ain't shit, you know, all of this stuff, when you know that you wasn't supposed to be with that type of woman, because you're not equipped with the same type of know-how that a pimp has to deal with a woman like that. You know, you're envious of another man's set of skills. You're envious of another man's set of abilities.
I think diversity isn't as separated in this modern day and age. Like, so people don't separate or celebrate diversity as much, and it's always the good girl, the one who gets the husband, the one who gets the house, the bad girl who regrets her actions, who is a sinner. And some people who are not necessarily religious are going to think, oh yeah, you're a bad girl, you're a this, or you're that. But the truth of the matter is, everybody is complex, and we all have different attributes and different, you know, ideas of what it means to be good or to be bad or to be presentable. And our people, our ancestors, always acknowledge that. But in the world we live in, that is very red pill or blue pill, Democrat or Republican, right or left, it's quite hard to fit in all these like multi-layered, multifaceted personalities into the programming we have today. Especially trying to explain that, okay, I'm like this, I'm like that. People be like, oh yeah, I mean, diversity is more appreciated now because, you know, people are like, oh yeah, you like to do this, you like to do that. But at the same time, we still try to compartmentalize people based on their sexuality a lot more.
So let me
like to put a name to everything.
So let me go back, because remember, I'm gonna show you the divinity when it comes to these three paths of Oshun, and this is just for an example. So remember Tamarel. Now imagine if you have a girl that's like Tamarel, and she's not in the system to where who she is bottled up. When she gets to her divine, you know, she becomes the tantric healer, because you have women, you have women who are very, very sensual, and they're so in tune with their nature as a woman, to the point where back in the day, you had women who could give you a massage, or they could wave their hand over you, and their energy was so strong that they could heal you.
You had temples of these women. You had temples of women who you could go there and be healed sexually. Like the ancient Kemet talks about this. Like a lot of ancient Egyptians had these temples. So the whole idea behind, oh, this is demonic now, or that is bad for you, or you're not meant to do this, to me, it's just, we're so far removed, so we tend to see sex as a chore. And a lot of people get married with that same ideology as, oh, it's a duty, and they don't have amazing sex lives, and they're very unhappy in their marriages. And then they even raise the younger generation like this as well. So it's hard to break this spell. It's hard to break this curse. Do you know what I mean? Like, think about you forcing a young lady to get married when you know she hasn't discovered herself yet, or reached her potential. Because in the world today, we can't be getting married as we probably were earlier. Do you know what I mean? There are way more obstacles on our path right now.
Now this is the thing too.
Our parents or our grandparents did. Pardon?
Now, I like the way you brought that up, because tell me, is this true? Now, in modern times, when we talk about arranged marriages and stuff like that, it was a situation. It was a situation to where you would be arranged. The marriage would be arranged in terms of the status, the financial status. So if you got this one rich family, you will want that person to marry into this other rich family. Now,
the royal family.
Yeah. So there may not be a connection with the two people, but it's a business arrangement. So it's like, yeah, I may not love you, you may not love me, but our families have to be united for money, for land, for resources and stuff like that. So so you got that aspect. And then now when we talk about this in a more divine type of way, you would have an elder while their child is a baby. And this is and you can confirm this or not. You would have an elder when that child is a baby, and that elder would look at that child and would be able to see, like, okay, this child represents this Orisha, or this child represents this. So what their parents would do, their parents would literally fashion their whole life around them becoming the highest potential of whatever that was. And when they would match them up with a mate, they would so say that this is a male child, and he's gonna grow up to be Shango, So the Obatala in the family would be like, okay, let me go find a woman that represents Obanani in this tribe over here. So the thing about it is it's like one of those, it's the same thing like an arranged marriage, but it's a situation to where, because remember, when we talk about the Patakis, Shango, he wouldn't have went to Obanani on his own. And Obanani wouldn't have been checking for Shango on his own. But when Obatala linked them up together, because he knew that together they would, not only would she help him grow up and mature and stuff like that, he would be that missing piece that she needs as well. So they learned to love each other. And
because I read this book, A Spirit of Intimacy. So this is not by a Nigerian woman, but she's also West African, right? And the audiobook is available on YouTube, guys. I would encourage you to listen to it. Spirit of Intimacy. I can't remember the author's name. And she was talking about how marriage works. So oftentimes they consulted the ancestors concerning like their lineage and to know who should marry this person. And you had soothsayers who could read the person's divinity. That's like reading somebody's birth chart right now.
Exactly.
But then they use cowries to do it, and then they use different methods of doing these things. So when they looked at it that way, they could tell you are better suited to this person, right? And we have to understand, like, romanticism that we have now wasn't as popular, wasn't as common back then. Yes, people fell in love and people loved their mates and stuff like that. We had all those things, but romanticism has been idealized so much, okay, that it's like people's idea of love or idea of starting a family now is just completely different to how it was before.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why you could have multiple partners in relationships.
And the thing about
But
it,
usually, relationships were for a purpose. And I want to say one thing before I let you speak. Someone said this, so love is two people looking in the same direction. So it's you came to life to do something. Your partner also has his or her purpose. And if your purposes or your walks in life are not aligned, you really can't be that high vibrational couple that you're claiming to be, because there'll always be tension in your relationship. And they knew this. They knew that it was a reason why you came here and what you had to experience, and the right partner for you. Okay, some marriages even renewed vows. Like I was listening to Michael Bernard Beckwith, and he was talking about how in some customs, some native customs, I think maybe this is Native American, after 7 years, they reviewed the union again, and they were like, have you guys learned your lessons? Have you learned your lessons? If you have, you can go your separate ways. But some people had to stay together because they still had not learned certain lessons.
and the thing
So
about
the
it
idea
is,
of
and that lines up. The reason why I know that lines up is because going back to the Orishas, remember that story about Yemoya? How, you know, she was the great mother, and then you had Obatala, and it got to the point where Obatala was so old that he could no longer please her. So they wasn't locked in a type of marriage to where it lasts forever, for better or for worse, and all of this stuff like we're raised up now. You know, what he did was he held a festival, and he told everybody, like, look, you know, I'm breaking up with Yemoya because, you know, I need to focus on the kingdom. You know, I can't please Yemoya, you know, like she needs to be. So I'm gonna let her go. And it was a very, very cordial type of thing. And then she ended up finding a Ganju, and they ended up getting together and creating the seasons. But the thing about it is, when everything came back around full circle, and Obatala became the Orisha Oko, they got back together again. And, you know, and we know that the relationship between Yemoya and Obatala is the greatest relationship story ever told. You know, and it goes back to what you were saying, to where we knew when our life, if we had a certain lesson that we were supposed to be with each other in order to find out and stuff like that. Once that lesson was over, we didn't have no type of, you got to get divorced and you got to pay alimony and you got to pay child support and all of this stuff. When the lesson was over, y'all just parted ways, and that's it. And that's the one thing that when it comes to here, this is why you have a lot of men who are going their own way simply because of institutional marriage. You know, they don't, it's like, yeah, you know, I would want to get married if the institution of marriage was different. You have a lot of that that's going on too, because like I said, we're in a spiritual awakening right now. So it goes back to what I was saying when I was saying a lot of these women are starting to wake up and realize the goddess is who they really are. So what if you got a woman and she was lost when y'all was together and when y'all was married? But what happens where if she goes on her spiritual enlightenment, she goes on her path to enlightenment, and then she finds out that she's Pambagera? You know, what if she finds out that she's the goddess Ishtar, which is the divine whore?
Yeah.
And what happens to where it's like, okay, now she wants to get out of that marriage because she's like, yo, like, I don't feel the same way for you when I was asleep that I felt for you now that I'm awake. You know? And you have a lot of
things, relationships.
And when it comes to shame,
even what makes people afraid. Sorry to cut you short.
Oh, one last thing.
That's even a thing.
When it comes to shame, that is a really, really, really big thing, and it comes with the patriarchy of spirituality, because spirituality is the only patriarchy that we got. You know, we're still in a gynocracy, but it's toxic because of the spiritual patriarchy that puts the divine feminine in a very compressed type of situation. So the only way that they can express themselves is in the stereotypical toxic type of mediums that we see. So what were you saying about that?
I had to drink water from the bottle. Sorry, my throat is dry. You were right about the whole spiritual thing, like spirituality being the main suppressor, because even sexist people over here use the Bible or the Quran. And that's not spirituality. Please, let's call it religion, because that's what it is. It's filled with dogma. So certain people use the Bible, use the Quran, use certain books to like suppress people and to make people down, right? And even right now in certain marriages, it's like, oh, as a woman you should do this and you should do that, and they're like, yeah, but the Bible says so, and the Quran says this.
I'm gonna turn my video on real quick. So I said I have to charge my phone. I don't know what happened. It just went off. The energy is quite strong today. I really don't understand.
Definitely, the energy was definitely strong. I'm so happy that you was able to come and do this live stream with me. And I just want you to, for a second, just tell everybody the business that you're doing, and how we can support you and all of that.
Follow me. Follow my page on Instagram. I think it's already there in the comments. Follow my page on Instagram. I do tarot readings, I do natal chart readings, and I do numerology readings. And I offer special packages. So my tarot readings also come with numerology readings, and my natal chart readings also come with numerology as well. Yeah, please for better. So I offer those readings, and if you'd just like to have a chat with me, let me know. I offer readings virtually, so by WhatsApp or whatever app you have, and you can use. I can also do Instagram as well. I send pictures, I send videos, and I send voice notes. So whichever one you want, just let me know.
Okay, so if y'all want to support this beautiful sister right here, and we're gonna have you back, since I know now, since I know now how we can do it live. We're just gonna do it like this.